Behind the Curve, available on Netflix. It's a documentary feature on the flat earthers. Now, I feel like I have to stress this out right off the bat. That is actually a serious movement with real people. It's not just a joke. If you asked me a few years back, I would not have believed that. I would have been convinced that this is just a few internet trolls doing this for fun. But as it turns out, there actually exists a growing movement of people who do genuinely believe that the Earth is flat, and NASA and NSA and CIA and what have you is everybody is lying to us. Admittedly, they exist mainly in US, which along with the popularity of other stuff like anti-vaxxing over there, raises some serious questions about the American education these days. In any case, I have never met one of those people in real life, and so it was fascinating to me to see the documentary and get to know them, so to speak. The movie focuses on several key people from the movement, mostly Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer, and boy, is this a trip. I mean, these people are just on the next level of willful ignorance. The lengths to which they go with exerting the mental gymnastics required to somehow make their views work is just stunning. The key thing is that they mostly dig their own graves. There are maybe 3 points in the entire film where the director asks anyone a direct question on camera. Other than that, these people just keep talking about whatever they want, themselves mostly, while the camera is rolling. And so I think that element of suspicion that, oh, someone is manipulating their words for comedic effect to make them look like fools is removed. This is it. I mean, this is the unfiltered stuff that comes out of their mouths. And it is partly funny because there were moments where I was absolutely howling with laughter at what was being said and done. But it is also partly sad and partly scary. Scary because it does make me feel uneasy to see people so entrenched in their beliefs that they refuse to accept any even suggestion of an evidence to the contrary. And sad because the film gives us glimpses into who these people are outside of the Flat Earth movement and possible reasons for them to be so engaged with it. And that's a rather pathetic picture, honestly, of people who do not really have anything going for them in life. While this whole movement gives them validation and admiration from like-minded morons, you can see most of them are just a little off, socially speaking, and maybe that's part of what drives them to go into all this madness. So we watch them explain their views. We watch them explain the conflicts between the different factions of flat earthers, because yes, that's a thing. And perhaps best of all, we see them perform various experiments that are meant to confirm their views. And this was my favorite part of the film, by the way. We also have voices from the other side. A few scientists and psychologists weigh in on some of the views and the phenomenon as a whole. And I found this to be particularly well done, especially towards the end, because it would have been very easy to simply laugh at the fools and leave it at that. But if you think about it, those are people who exist in the same society we do, people who vote, and so maybe it would be in everyone's best interest not to leave them to their wrongful beliefs, to somehow take care about those people intellectually, just to like maybe steer them the right way. After all, Flat Earth itself is relatively harmless, but we are shown in the film that it tends to lead to other shit like anti-vaxxing or anti-science in general. I mean, you can see it happen now in the US with mass protests against coronavirus lockdowns. And the film raises also an interesting question of how to actually engage with these people. Because if you leave them and ignore them, they continue on their path and maybe even accuse scientists of chickening out from the discussion. On the other hand, they are so resistant to accepting any sort of argument or even question from someone who's not a believer that the discussion may seem pointless to even attempt at its core. And how to solve this problem while ideally also remaining respectful towards the other person, not being condescending, well, that's the big question, right? So it's food for thought, which the movie leaves you with after a very entertaining hour and a half. I think Behind the Curve is a great mix of that entertainment in the form of watching crazy people and some actually great points about science and psychological tendencies and logical fallacies that I think we can all take away from.